Welcome to the No Name MMA Show, the best damn MMA podcast you've never heard of. My name is Motivated Andy. Thank you for joining us on this, I'm going to say Wednesday, May 18th or some bullshit, but we all know what it is. We all know what it is. We all know in our hearts, but it's Wednesday in my mind. My name is Motivated Andy. Thank you for joining us, the best damn podcast you never heard of. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the lovely, the gorgeous, the beautiful, the sexy.
No nut shot, Nina.
Before we go over all the violence that happened this weekend, which was a very sneaky card, a lot of people there was some shit that went down. But before we go into all the shit, let's talk about our weekends. Babe, What have you been up to this past week?
So I'm just still working. We're real heavy in our spring wedding season. So I was out of town for last weekend's card. And going out of town again tomorrow for another round of out of town weddings. But other than that, I've been just binge watching Selling Sunset on Netflix. And I never had seen it until...
Selling Sunset.
Yeah.
My note says... started watching that House of Millionaires or some shit show.
It's crazy because the show's very staged, very staged reality show.
Oh my God.
But at
Carla
the same
did
time,
what?
Has fully engulfed me into the series, and a big part of that is these incredibly fabulous homes that they are showing and listing and selling and buying. And so that's been a really fun roller coaster. I've literally binged 4 seasons of the show. Oh my God,
4?
Literally since Friday in a week.
I didn't know that it was 4. I figured you were on season 1. But for me,
to be fair though, I go out of town on the weekends. I work for just maybe 2 or 3 hours on Friday, and then I'm in an Airbnb for the rest of the night until my wedding begins on Saturday. So Friday night, when I ended my rehearsal at 6:30, I came back to my Airbnb and I had a frozen pizza and I binged a season of Selling Sunset. So it's they're quick seasons to run through, but yeah. So
for me, I view that show as like a mash between House Hunters and Real Housewives. Like if both of those shows had a baby, it would be kind of like this.
You need to marry that with a Netflix show like Love is Blind to get the true Netflix production feel of it, because Netflix reality shows definitely have a flavor to them. So it's got that, but it's also being one of those luxury lifestyle reality shows. So it's good. It's been keeping me occupied. But I also have an event coming up in just next week that one of the Housewives of New York will be at. So as of today, I felt like I needed to do my homework and start watching some Real Housewives of New York because I've got a housewife coming to an event this week. So I'm also working on that. You're mingling
with the stars now.
Well, it's funny because
rubbing elbows with the important people.
The housewife that was to mention on, I guess, the reboot show which they did where they brought some of the original housewives together from different states to Turks and Caicos. And I guess this is a big celebrity housewife thing that they did. And we're working with some of the vendors when we go in a couple weeks, the same ones that are going to be at the event this week. So it's just funny how somehow my work circles and the Real Housewives of New York have intermingled quite a bit for my next couple of weeks coming up. So that'll be funny.
Oh, shit.
So I'm doing my homework. I'm watching some Real Housewives of New York to get caught up on some of the tea. But other than that,
yeah,
that's basically what I've been up to. What about you, honey?
Well, you've been doing that. So, RIP, my first playthrough of Elden Ring. I'm starting on my third playthrough. I played through 200 hours of this video game, and I'm still finding new shit, which is fucking insane. But besides my nerdy shit, my petty, evil, little rat mode, I've been just sniffing up all the drama between Brendan Schaub and Bobby Lee and his wife, Kalila Kuhn, I think her last name is. And since the last episode, I think I was saying that they went on H3 podcast with Ethan Klein and his wife, I forgot her name, Ilsa Klein?
She's Israeli, I think. I don't remember her name.
I it's something like that. Well, anyway, they went on that podcast and they were like, yo, Brendan Schaub straight up like was trying to act like he was going to get these lawyers, that there was this Reddit page. If you don't know, the Fighter and the Kid Reddit page it's just devoted to exposing Brendan Schaub. Like it's a wonderful treat if you're a hater of Brendan Schaub. Anyway, so Brendan Schaub was saying that Bobby Lee had created this Reddit group after Brendan had hit on Bobby's wife, which at the time they were in an open relationship. And they made fun of Brendan, and it became this whole thing. He threatened to sue them, and they exposed that on Ethan Klein, and then Brendan Schaub was like, hey, let's figure this shit out on a podcast. So he goes to Tiger Belly with Bobby Lee and Kalila and gets ripped in half for an hour and a half. And it makes my heart so happy to see and know that other people just can see through the bullshit of Brendan Schaub and call him out. And it was also always going to end this way. Like, it was never going to be like there is a possibility that Bobby Lee gets outdone by Brendan Schaub. Obviously, it was going to be Bobby Lee coming out as a winner in the fight of mental fortitude between the two. So it ends up with Brendan Schaub apparently like showing them 300 pages of evidence that, quote unquote, a team found linking Bobby to the Reddit page. But the whole thing was predicated on Bobby being able to do this. And Bobby Lee goes out and says, like, I answer fucking phone calls on my iPad. I don't know what the fuck. I don't even know how to respond to emails.
My question is, like, was the term team used to discover this information?
Right. A team.
So Brendan Schaub has more than one person, a team looking for trash on Bobby Lee?
Yeah. So that's where they were coming at him with that.
Yeah.
And then apparently Brian Callen, who is a mutual friend, Brian Callen does a podcast with Brendan Schaub. Mm-hmm. Brian Callen also used to do a show with Bobby Lee back in the day called Mad TV. If you're around 21, you probably won't know it, but it used to be on Fox, and it was like a poor man's SNL, right?
Yeah.
So,
but it was phenomenal.
It was awesome. I love Mad TV. It was amazing.
It was SNL. It just was like generic brand SNL.
Right. It was like,
but still a big deal. Like people know.
Dr. Cola, not Dr. Pepper. It was
Angela, what's her name from? She does the famous nail salon.
I don't know what you're talking about. I remember Stewie, who was played by something McDonald, I think.
Angela, let me look her up. Anyway, continue. But
yeah,
if you are Brendan Schaub and you've got a team, that means you're putting forth the resources to band together to find this out.
But that's where, so Brian Callen, the guy who does the podcast with Brendan, confronts Bobby in a not so nice way, in a way where, like, apparently even Brendan Schaub was like, nah, you can't talk about my wife like that.
Yeah.
Like, yo, put that bitch in your place. Like shit of that nature, but make it more vile.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, he had the ace up his sleeve that they were in an open relationship. And while they were in an open relationship, they found out that Kalila was seeing somebody as she was also with Bobby Lee, and that's what they were going to out her on. Like, they were going to be like, you were cheating on Bobby Lee, but they had an open relationship. They were having issues. He was on drugs, and he goes out to Ethan Klein, and he's like, I didn't want to talk about this shit. I got embroiled in this because they made fun of somebody with the initials BS that isn't a funny comedian, and this motherfucker thought that, oh, they got to be talking about me because my initials are BS, and everybody thinks I'm unfunny. Which, by the way, after you look this up, look at the IMDb score for his new special, Papi Gringo, or Gringo Papi, or whatever the fuck.
I was thinking of the comedian Angela Johnson, who does the nail salon skit on her stand-up routine. But she also was Bon Qui, who was like, we got a complicated order. Like, that's Mad TV. Okay.
So, Brian threatens Bobby. Bobby goes on Eat Street Podcast, talks shit about the whole situation. Because he's like, hey, I didn't do anything and I'm the most vulnerable here. Like, I'm having to talk about this now. So they have Brendan, and Brendan gets fucking destroyed. And then apparently he shows this evidence to them that he can't give to them. He can show to them.
Dang, 1.5 out of 10 rating.
1.5 out of 10 for Papi Gringo. His 25-minute special. Look at the reviews, though. They're hilarious.
Damn, out of 10. Okay.
I think his last one was 1.8, so somehow it's worse. Yeah, so he goes on there, shows them the thing. Apparently, all of the evidence is just, like, paper shit that, or, like, just emails that don't link anything, don't do anything, aren't connected to anything. They're not part of any kind of thing. And, yeah, so that was where it was left off on. Apparently, like, people are just going to forget about this, like, this didn't happen. But the best moment for me was knowing that Bobby Lee's episode with Brendan Schaub exposing him got like 1 million views in a couple of days, where Brendan Schaub's special that's been out for 2 weeks has only gotten like 600,000 views. Because at least it's exposing more people to Bobby Lee's genius, and also Brendan Schaub being like this little man bitch that goes crying to Daddy Rogan and Daddy Callen whenever he's getting made fun of because he's a dirty little shit.
Okay.
And the overarching thing is like, this was all coming off of a podcast that was done with Andrew Schultz, where he asked about this other girl that Brendan had hit on, again, while he's with his baby mama, that had said that he was trying to take me to the truck. And he like flat out says that never happened. So that's where I'm assuming they're going to drop it, because Bobby Lee's like over it. But like, that girl's accusations never really got answered or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been my weekend. Besides that, Kendrick Lamar came out and it was fucking amazing. If you haven't gone out there and heard Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, you are fucking up. That is a double LP and it is fucking amazing. Like 20 tracks of genius. Straight genius. And yeah, that's it.
Sweet.
Off to Nina for the No Name of the Week. Do we have a No Name of the Week? No, we don't have a No Name of the Week. So off to Nina for the MMA Minute.
Okay. So Aspen Ladd versus Sarah McMahon is set.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to get rid of Aspen Ladd. Because Sarah McMahon is an Olympic silver medalist. And she's going to wrestle fuck the shit out of Aspen Ladd. Which is apparently like her strength.
Her thing.
I'm doing air quotes because she's not good at anything.
Yeah.
She can't even make weight. So like, multiple times.
Yeah.
At 135 and 145. Like, girl gets a 10-pound allowance and still can't make it. So
that's too bad.
Yeah.
In other news, Cain Velasquez's attorney sees silver lining after bail denied, saying court
opined. Opined.
He has a viable defense. So best of luck to Cain and his defense.
Yeah. This is his second time with his bail being denied, and the judge said that he is a reckless endangerment to human life. I don't know. It's just unfortunate for Cain. Upon reflection, I still think that the justice system fucked him up. I think that it was unfair of how it went down with the situation. I mean, it's tough. You gotta. I'm a fan of Kane, and he fucked up. He fucked up bad.
He deserves to be where he is today. However, I think most people would agree that they would be in his same shoes if they were in his similar situation.
Yeah.
So as much as it's unfortunate that he had to take justice into his own hands, I think everyone who knows his story would agree that they would do the same thing if they were him. So it sucks. Hopefully he can have an empathetic sentencing.
Yeah.
But he did what he did.
I mean, I mean, fuck, I don't know. It's just a bad situation all around, and I just feel for Kane's family.
Yeah.
And just wish him nothing but the best of luck. But
yeah.
Also, it's not like he's innocent.
No, I mean
if we're gonna
people,
he shot at people, hit the wrong one.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
If we take the other context out of it, that's what happened.
I mean,
you shot an innocent person.
Yeah.
I mean, the dad didn't do whatever the son did.
The guy who did what he did wasn't even in the car. He took it out on the other
I think
people.
He was in the car. They were riding in the car. It was...
No, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the father, the guy,
and his sister or something. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just unfortunate all around.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
Hearts go out to Kane's family.
Yeah. Drew Dober versus Rafael Alves is added to UFC 277, which is set to take place on July 30th.
That's gonna be a good one. Handsome, fucking Squidward. That's what that dude looks like.
He is.
I'm looking forward to Drew Dober. He's a very good wrestler, and
he's a good fighter.
He is a really good fighter. I think he just gets so much shit because he's such a good-looking dude.
Good-looking.
Yeah,
guy.
it's almost, but he also embraces it, which good for him.
Don't act dumb, but
I wish he did act dumb. I think it would be a better sell for him because clearly everybody knows you're gorgeous, right? So,
but he's a good fighter,
too, right? So that's where you gotta. I don't know. It's like
it's a weird.
It's easy to be the good-looking guy and be like
talentless.
I mean, like Luke Rockhold, for example. He's a model for Ralph Lauren and everything else, right?
I don't get it.
But that's where like he's a model, like, but he's like that cocky jock guy, so it kind of sells. Where Drew Dober like knows he's a good-looking guy and he's a model in his own right, but he I don't know. He doesn't play up the character. I feel like there's something there that he could sell himself on to be like, yeah, I'm that good-looking guy that's also gonna fuck you up or something like that. I don't know. Like he's missing out on a possibility there. I think to sell himself. Like you're handsome Squidward. Like play it up, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you got this. You got this.
Yeah, he needs to do like a weekend entrance or something like, just roll with it.
Yeah,
let it
just
be.
Like,
it's true.
You're Mr. Bad Bitch, bro. Like, be that man. Like, grow into it.
It's cool to be pretty.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. We like you anyway. All right, moving on. Marvin Vettori willing to fight Robert Whittaker at UFC Paris, saying, "You better show the fuck up this time." Expected to go down September 3rd.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good fight. Marvin Vettori, I think, is biting off more than he can chew here. Robert Whittaker, I think, is very much, again, we say it all the time, champion 1A, 1B, but right beside Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington, it is Robert Whittaker and Israel. Like, I just don't think Robert Whittaker... I mean, look what Robert Whittaker did to Israel's new opponent, Jared Cannonier. He broke his arm with a checked leg kick and then busted up his, like, orbital, fucked up all his shit, and made it look easy. Yeah. Easy. And that's Izzy's next opponent. Yeah. So it's like Robert Whittaker and Izzy are the cream at the top, and their last fight was very competitive, even though Izzy did clearly win, I think. But yeah, Marvin Vettori, if he's going to go out there and try to just out wrestle Robert Whittaker, I think he's going to find that's not just going to be that easy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to end up on another lopsided loss like he did against Izzy.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, Amanda Nunes no longer with American Top Team, saying that I'm not even safe in my own territory. There were no girls when I got to American Top Team. I was the first woman to bring 2 belts and put the women's team in history. When Kayla Harrison got there, and then
Yana Kunitskaya.
Thank you. It began creating a weird situation for me because that was my territory. So.
Yeah, I mean, Yana was a 135 competitor that was very in the top 10, if not top 5, I think, at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So a future opponent
yeah.
at her gym that she helped build, like she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kayla Harrison is running off her mouth saying, oh, I'm down to fight Amanda at 145, like, blah, blah, blah. I know I can beat Amanda. I'm the best woman in the world. And it's like, that's her gym. Like, that's her place. So I can understand how she was feeling kind of neglected.
Yeah.
And she is starting her own gym. And it's not just going to be her own gym. She is getting 2 former trainers, the ones that helped her beat Ronda Rousey. So
is it in Florida? Or
yeah, it's good. It's in Florida. It's just not American Top Team.
Okay.
So I still think it's a lot to handle, though. You're doing your own gym. You had your old coaches. Even though you're going back to your original coaches, that work that you did at American Top Team is different than the work you're doing now. Plus, you're a new mother with your other wife. So you're opening a gym. And it's just so much going on that I don't know. Like, that fight against Juliana Pena was doing everything perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda Nunes was doing nothing right. She got her a couple of times, but she got her just a couple of times. There was no position in that fight where I thought I was scared for Juliana Pena, except for one of the right hands that landed.
Well, I just can imagine that being like Amanda Nunes, being the first double champion woman, at any gym you go to, you are going to be treated like the big fish in the pond anywhere you go. So you go to the best of the best. And when other big fish start to enter that pond, you're not going to have that same attention to detail like you did before. And you won't have the freedom that you had originally to just let it all out, have everyone pick apart, like every single piece of your training. So she probably did feel like I had a full open gym and now I don't have that. So
yeah,
maybe she got a little spoiled being there too, and now she's like, I need my whole own gym to be able to do this. But
I'm hoping it works out, because if her game plan is the same game plan that she was going to come out there against Juliana Pena, I'm smelling a ripe Juliana Pena that's going to be an underdog against a fighter that I think she has her number.
Yeah. Sorry. You're right. All right, moving on. Conor McGregor, no longer the highest paid athlete in sports for 2022. Jake Paul makes first appearance on the list.
Yeah, I think they're only like 10 spots away from each other. He took it's a sharp fall off, but you also got to understand he really was never going to be number 1 unless he sold another like alcohol company like he did with Proper 12. That's what bumped him up to number 1. If it hadn't been for that alcohol, he would still be hovering. I think he's at 24 or something. Okay. He's still making bank.
Yeah.
But like to beat Messi, to beat Ronaldo, to beat like football stars, to beat boxing stars like Canelo.
Other businesses.
Right. He would need other businesses to build up that wealth.
Point.
Right. So I always knew he wasn't going to be number 1 again, even though apparently he's getting paid like $30 million a fight.
Well,
for the UFC
if you're
now.
Boxing like Jake Paul, you don't need all these little side gig businesses.
Yeah. So.
Damn.
Yeah, Jake Paul is encroaching on Conor McGregor in terms of the highest paid athlete.
Crazy.
Fucking crazy.
Go YouTube.
Fighting Ben Askren. That motherfucker fought Ben Askren and is I need a, I don't know. I'm doing something wrong.
Not only Ben Askren.
And then knock the fucking shit out of Tyron Woodley.
Thank you.
Retire Tyron Woodley. Twice.
Yeah.
Dear God.
You know who's not retiring?
Who?
Glover Teixeira.
Perfect
plan includes beating Jiri. I can't say his name ever. The best.
Prochaska.
Retiring as UFC champion in New York in November. So Glover's planning on retiring soon.
Yeah. He was speaking to a Brazilian outlet, Combate, and this is a translation from MMA Fighting. And the plan is go out there and defend against Jiri, and then hopefully fight in New York in Madison Square Garden for his last fight.
That would be perfect plan.
Perfect.
Do we think that's going to happen that way?
Jiri is a bad motherfucker. Yeah. He is a fucking scary, weird little mountain man.
Yeah.
That likes to punch trees.
Yeah.
Every fucking day for hours.
Yeah.
Like, a motherfucker that enjoys doing that.
Yeah.
Is a different breed. And he is he is a right man. Like, he's at the physical peak of his career, and he has the experience. It's very new to UFC people, like people that just watch UFC, how actually experienced Jiri is. But Jiri has like 34, 36 fights. I'm forgetting off the top of my head. He has like an 85% finishing rate. So, yeah, he's
crazy.
Like, he's been in the motherfucker for a minute, and he's only lost a couple of times to fucking other monsters. So Glover has a lot on his plate, but he's playing it right. He's like, Jiri is the first task at hand.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But, man, that would be a fucking dream. I'm already happy for Glover.
Yeah.
Him winning the belt was one of the best...
That was the sweetest
moments of last year. Like, almost, like, bringing me to straight up tears.
Yeah.
So, seeing him go out there and compete as the reigning champion is just...
so cool.
I'm just fucking stoked. So if he goes out there and loses to a very good competitor, I'm going to still be happy. If he goes out there and wins, like, I'm going to be even more stoked. There's just no, like, losing with this.
True. All right. And that's it for this week's MMA Minute. Over to Mr. Motivated for It's Time!
With that wonderful intro.
Do you remember how many intros you used to give me? Every time it was like a different It's Time.
Should I go back?
No, I'm just trying to
now
match that
back.
energy for you.
Now I'm gonna change it up now.
Now I'm trying to give you that experience as well.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it in my bones. In my chakra.
It's time. Mr. Motivated.
So this past weekend we had Alexander Rakic saying that he is anxious to return for unfinished business with Jan Blachowicz. He is saying a return because if you did not watch last week, which a lot of people didn't, Jan Blachowicz wins via TKO, but it's technically a doctor stoppage because Alexander Rakic takes a step back and blows out his ACL. I saw it with Kevin Durant while he was playing in the finals. It's like you can see the twitch of the fibers, like it snaps. That was the same twitch, like you saw it snap.
Yeah.
And nobody knew what it was, but this is the ACL, this is the MCL, and the PCL's in here.
Okay.
Or the meniscus is in here, but it's PCL as well.
Yeah.
So this is the tendon that you see kind of like twitch.
Yikes.
And like DC was just like, yeah, that looks like an ACL tear. That happens to people in the gym.
Yeah.
Like they're sparring, they take a weird little step, they shift their weight just in the right position. Gone. And apparently he had never had a tendon issue in his right knee, but he had 2 previous tears in his left.
No.
So for me, what that spells out is that this is the beginning of the end of a promising career.
Yeah.
As tough as it is to say that to somebody who's 28, like, bro, now both of your knees are fucked.
Shot.
Both of your knees.
Right.
One twice over.
Yeah.
And the only other person that's in the light heavyweight division that had both knees messed up like that look at his current position. It's Thiago Santos, and he's going to go fight Jamal Hill. And from what we've seen with Thiago Santos, after those injuries, he was not the same fighter. And Rakic is a very athletic, very, like, springy person. Mm-hmm. And I just... It's tough. It's tough. Look at what happened with Dominic Cruz. He ended up getting his knees messed up over and over and over again. That's why we never saw Dominic Cruz really compete like that. Nina's rolling her eyes for people that are not being able to see this. But it's one of those things that once it happens, it's like the levee breaks and there's no bringing the water back. It's spilt milk and there's no bringing it back in the car.
So many athletes in other sports too.
Right.
ACL damage is anything with your knees, really, because you can't do anything athletic if you don't have your knees.
And you're going to need surgery.
Yeah.
And we know that now.
Recovery and everything.
So he's going to need surgery. Yeah. So I don't know if he's gotten it yet or if he's going to go back to his home country and get it there. But now he's out. Like, he is out for, at the very least, if he's trying to pull a Tony Ferguson, 6 months.
Listen, that's what happens when you go against the Polish.
The Polish power?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Jan Blachowicz goes out, gets the win. In the fight, Rakic lands, like, a weird right hand.
Yeah.
And it hits like the inside of his eye, like the knuckle, and it like rips the bottom of his eyelid a little bit. So just imagine the tear duct. Imagine it's just like a little hole.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like a cut on his cheek or some shit, and he was like wiping it off. So I saw a lot of blood.
Yeah.
That was all blood coming from his eye.
Ew.
It was just blood that he was wiping from his fucking eye, like vagina in the eye that he had. It was just like pouring out blood, just pouring it out. So Jan Blachowicz is a bad motherfucker. Mm-hmm. And
if we didn't already know.
Yeah, and quoting him, he's just like, I'm like Gollum, and the belt is my precious.
Yeah.
I need my precious back. Yo, Jan Blachowicz is low-key goated for some of the quotes he says. He's like, I eat this shit. I never eat shit before, but maybe this tastes like shit. Like whenever he was talking about the loss of his belt, or like whenever he got treated for that eye thing that was going on, I think they just pushed it up and they put some goop in there. Like whenever you had your eye thing where you had to put goop in your eye.
Yeah.
Because of the glue to your like whatever.
Lash extension. Yeah.
It was that same kind of stuff. And he was like, I very like do drugs. Because he was all hopped up on shit. But John's goated. I just want to see Jan and Glover, Madison Square Garden, headlining the Garden. That would be just amazing between both of them. I mean, but whenever they were leading up to their fight, they were like sharing beer.
Yeah.
Like Jan Blachowicz was giving him beer from his country. John also had a special for his fight where anybody in the country, if you were close to a 7-Eleven, was going to stock his beer.
That's cool.
So it was something like that. I think it was a 7-Eleven, but
that's fun.
Yeah, it couldn't happen to both of them.
Yeah.
It could not happen to better people. However, there's a lot of people that I think are overlooking. Why am I forgetting his fucking first name? Smith.
Not Aaron.
Why am I forgetting his first fucking name? Smith versus Magomed Ankalaev. I want to say Alex Smith, but it's not Alex Smith. Anthony Smith. Oh my God. Anthony Lionheart Smith.
I know. I was saying Aaron.
Yeah. But they're like 4-5. So if Anthony goes out there and gets a fucking good win against Magomed Ankalaev, who's on a streak right now and just murdering people, I mean, it's a hard denial to deny. Yeah. I don't know. But whatever. Glover's champ. Jan wins a weird one. Rakic has no more knees. And everybody's overlooking Anthony Smith and Magomed Ankalaev. Especially me, because I couldn't even remember his first fucking name.
To be fair, we both knew it would start with an A.
Yeah. Not Alex Smith, though. Moving on from last week's main event to the middle of the fucking prelims, we had Andrea KGB Lee's boyfriend in between rounds cornering Andrea saying, those dirty fucking Brazilians, of course we knew they were gonna fucking cheat like that. They're fucking dirty. So for me, I see no space in the sport for this. And it's not me being sensitive, because I say plenty of fucked up shit.
Andy says the worst shit ever.
But this is flat out racist. This is xenophobic. And xenophobia is making fun of a marginalized group.
Yeah.
Which is also racism, guys. It's the same thing. Yeah. We're just nitpicking here. We're nitpicking between two of the most worst possible things that you could be called. And we're trying, it's not that. Because Brazilian's not a race. Like, that's what I hear. That's what I hear when everybody tries to defend this.
Replace that with Mexicans instead of Brazilians, and how would most Americans feel if you were to say, those dirty Mexicans were going to cheat, and we knew they were going to cheat?
Like, for me, it's a failure of putting yourself in other people's shoes to the extent, like, people defended it. People were defending it online, saying, oh, don't make so much of a big deal. This is how shit like the shooting in Baltimore happens. Yeah. This is what leads up to it. It's not like this. It's this little subtle bullshit. This isn't subtle. This isn't subtle. It's the level right below that. This is the level right above that.
You don't need to call someone a derogatory term to not be racist enough.
Right.
This is racist enough to be racist.
Yeah, like...
You don't always have to call somebody by a derogatory term in order to make it a racist statement.
Right, and...
Hello.
So, everybody calls this out because that's how you know the card is thin.
Yeah.
When we're talking about cornering advice during a fight.
Right.
If it was a banging card, this would be a under fucking no. But it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And Kelly goes out there and responds to this. And instead of owning up and saying, hey, you know what? That was fucked up on my end. After being called out by everybody.
Right.
He could have been like, hey, you know what? I fucked up. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. What do you do?
No. Of course the idiot racist doesn't own up to it. Mm-hmm. Instead, he goes and blames cancel culture. Mm-hmm. What? How can you be that big of a snowflake to think that your racism is just a overreaction by people because they like to cancel people? What? And the funny thing is, and this is the last thing that I'll say about this isn't the first racist that Andrea Lee's been with. No. Her ex-husband used to have a swastika and SS bolts tatted on his arms, blaming it on, oh, I needed this to survive while I was in prison.
I'm sorry, but if you are also partners with a racist, you're racist.
Because you fuck with it on some level.
Because that's not big enough of an issue for you.
Right.
If you are that indifferent about racism, you're a fucking racist.
Yep.
You are not a non-racist.
Yeah.
So you're a racist.
You're a racist. You're either racist
hate to
or
tell
you're
you,
not.
The company you keep represents you.
Yeah. And his excuse was, yeah, I needed this to survive in prison, and also that because it was prison tattoos, they were too deep and he couldn't get them removed.
It's like honestly the opposite.
Yeah, so it's just like, yeah, it's just all around. Just for me, the UFC tries so hard to act like they are part of the NFL, part of big sports, big fucking uniform. We're straight cookie cutters.
We're a big company here.
But then you go around and you really look into it. You got Tony Kelly being over here racist.
You got John
Jones fucking like being his wife. You got all this crazy bullshit. And the thing is, this will end up biting the UFC in the ass further down the line.
This is not aging well, honey.
This has already happened with the UFC. The UFC before, they were sponsored by Bud Light. Mm-hmm. And Bud Light is Bud Light. Like, you get sponsored by Bud fucking Light.
Daddy Disney's gonna come in here and start shutting your shit down. I'm shocked they haven't already.
I'm shocked too.
Honest.
But whenever they had Bud Light, even Anheuser-Busch, the daddy company, had to like straight up say like, we are disappointed in the UFC and they're gonna have to correct or else we're gonna pull our funding.
Right.
And what ended up happening, the UFC did not correct and Bud Light ended up pulling up their funding. That's why whenever you see like old UFC fights And there used to be a Bud Light in the center of the octagon where like all the main shit is at. Whenever you see an old UFC fight, they blur out the Bud Light now. They don't show the Bud Light. And you know they go out of their way to blur it because it would just be easier to let it fucking be there. But no, they're blurring that shit just to make it a point like, oh, you wronged us. Yeah. Like, you pulled, we're gonna pull. Like, motherfucker, you're allowing this shit. You are allowing this shit. It's not even like, oh yeah, like freedom of speech, like we let people express themselves. Like, no, this is just, there's no room. No room. Yeah. Like, I say fucked up shit, but guess what? I'm not a racist. I don't say racist shit. I don't go around telling people that they're fucking dirty cheats. Like, bro, it's not the same. And I think that for everybody that defends, really look around and determine, hey, am I ever affected by this kind of commentary? Maybe I should act like somebody who is affected by this and go like, yeah, you know what? It would be fucked to be always called be referred to as a dirty person, as a cheater, when you don't even know them. I didn't see an eye poke during that fight. That was the whole premise of this commentary. Literally the first to say they were fucking eye poking and ball. So that's where, like, busting. If I'm rewatching the fight and I don't see shit, what the fuck are you talking about? Because I know that Andrea fucking pulled a foul. I know that she grabbed the fence. So then what the fuck? You're accusing them out of the way. Yeah. For why? For, I think I got poked in the eye? No, you got fucking punched in the face because you sucked balls. It's crazy. So I'll leave you with that. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's fucking stupid. I don't want to say shit, but also I'm not going to say shit. Because guess what? What ends up happening is not enough people say shit and then people get away with this. Yeah. And that's not okay. Like, it's not okay. It's fucking turn your brain on and be like, oh yeah, you know what? That's not okay. Right. Fucking just actually think about what he fucking said. Yeah. And like rationalize it and go, oh yeah, you know what? That just wasn't right. Like, dude. What are we fucking 15-year-old little white kids that live in Connecticut that have no black friends, no people of color, nothing around us, and we're like, oh yeah, that's not a big deal. Like, that's what I view. That's what I just can't see anybody that has like a friend who is not white that listens to that and goes, oh, that was what like if that he had said that dirty fucking African. What do you think that would say? Like, right, just like, and just take Brazilian and put something else. That's why I'm trying to put it in terms that like a racist would understand. I'm thinking like small brain doesn't know. Yeah. So I'm thinking an American white like small brain person, if they heard dirty Mexican, they would be like, oh, I'm talking about brown people, like Latinos of any kind. Or if I say African, they're thinking black people. So when they say that, that's what they mean. And that's where I'm like, that's what you meant when you said it like this. Right. That's what you mean when you say this. Yeah. Don't try to, like, outsmart me, you dumb little brain. Yeah. Like, I got you. I know what you're saying. Like, yeah, it's like... Heard. We got it. Yeah, it's just like... It's like they're taking my shit out of context. It's like, no, the context is racist. Oh, like, that is what it is. We fully see your intention with that comment. Yeah, like, it's not... There's no blurred lines here. No blurred lines here. It's literally like, yeah, that was racist. Like, you're an idiot. Like, but let's blame cancel culture on you being racist. Like, that's what we're gonna do. You go to another country and they say that dirty fucking American cheated. Yeah. You're gonna be like upset about it. Yeah. The same way anyone is when they're what am I thinking? The word discriminated against. Like, that's what that feels like. It's so just like, that's what it is. But yeah, I don't know. It's just laughable at best. At worst, you're actually racist. Getting away with it. Too, on camera. Yeah. In front of And he's going to fight. He is a fighter. Yeah. The guy in the corner is a fighter. And he's fighting Adrian Yanez as a former No Name of the Week. Somebody that we had an interview scheduled. I'm going to reach out to that motherfucker right now. But Gilbert Burns was just like, yo, go out there and you knock him out, I'll pay you a bonus. Everybody's like, yo, Adrian Yanez is going to end up in Houston being a crowd full of Mexicans, and also the country of Brazil backing him up against Tony Kelly.
Oh.
So,
I mean, even...
Just everybody.
Everybody,
just period. I'm just saying, like, everybody is going to be rooting for this guy.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Dr. Pepper, I believe, because he ended up winning a year's supply of Dr. Pepper.
Oh, that's who he is.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, he's going to be going up against Tony Kelly, and, yeah, it's due time. Like, hopefully this doesn't put too much pressure, but I feel like he's thriving in it. He's down to get down and dirty.
Dr. Pepper is fighting Kelly.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's Dr. Pepper. It was Dr. Pepper and Reese's? No.
Reese's, because we talked about it on like our second episode ever.
Nah, it was in the middle. It was because whenever he first came out, he was one of our first no names of the week. It was Brandon Royval and him were one of the first no names of the week.
That's
on
maybe
our end.
Why I thought it then.
But he fought somebody in the middle of our podcast.
Okay.
And one of them was they made a bet on Twitter and they got pushed up to the main event.
That, yeah.
And they had made a bet like, hey, you win.
Right. I think we did do that in our old place, but not in Plaza.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Gotcha.
So, yeah, Adrian Yanez, go and
beat that ass.
Fuck that dude up. It was the same what happened with Corey Durden. Mm-hmm. He was the guy that was just like, I'm going to send him back to China. And he ended up facing Moises Mokaev. Mm-hmm. And Moises Mokaev ended up choking him out in the first round, like, in a minute. So, yeah. Good luck. Moving on, we have this weekend Holly Holm making her return after the longest career layoff, and she's going against Ketlan Viera, who is coming off of a victory over Miesha Tate, who Holly lost her belt to, and also Irene Aldana, who was beat by Holly via unanimous decision, but beat Ketlan Viera, so it's that weird wishy-washy, everybody beats everybody else.
Yeah.
So the rhetoric going into this fight, you haven't been paying attention, but I have. It's pretty much just like, why the fuck is this the main event? Mm-hmm. Why are we letting this be the main event? How do you feel about it? Because you don't listen to the online chatter. You just watch it when you can. For me, I think I get it, especially considering that the co-main is Michelle Pereira against fucking... Why am I forgetting his fucking name? It's Michelle Pereira against somebody. I'll look that up. Mm-hmm. But it's a banging co-main, but people are just bitching about this main event like it's nobody's business, where it's two strikers. That's how I see it. So that's where I get that it's two women, but it's not like women have bad fights all the time. Mm-hmm. We did just see a terrible fight with Rose and Carla, but that's an exception to the rule.
I will say that I might not be who you want to talk to, because I don't really, if I'm being totally honest, see why. I see why, but I feel like what I'm going to say is not going to be favorable. Holly Holmes, I know what an amazing athlete she has been in her entire athletic career. Her last couple of fights have not been exciting necessarily or terribly in her favor. She, since I have come into watching MMA, has maybe only had like 2 good fights to watch, I feel like. If I'm being real honest.
That's fair.
She's had a huge reputation, but I am always kind of disappointed in watching her fights. So I kind of am on that side of things where, as much as the name and her reputation precedes her, she's not that same fighter that she once was. And I am not terribly super excited for a Holly Holmes fight anymore.
That's fair. Her last 2 were Renee Aldana and Raquel Pennington, which both were decisions. So, I think it's...
I want...
I don't think it's a fair assessment in terms of it's still a high caliber fight. We're talking about number 4 and number 5, I think, in the rankings.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It's number 4
Santiago
and number
Ponzinibbio
5.
against Michelle Pereira. That is the co-main event.
But it still is like Holly Holmes, she just doesn't fight like what I've heard of her fighting.
Right. What you've seen from the
live.
Right.
I've only seen good previous fights.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. So yeah, the 2 that you saw live were those 2 decisions that were.
I've seen more than 2 live for Holly Holmes.
You saw Megan Anderson, I think.
And I just am
and then that was another decision too.
I haven't really seen and it's been years, like at least.
No. Wait, was that Holly? Or was that Amanda?
So we've been together almost 4 years. So I'm going to say for the last 4 years, I've been into MMA.
Yeah.
And I've seen Holly Holmes fight a handful of times. But I know of Holly Holmes from previous fights that I've watched back. But...
But yeah, that's where, I don't know. For me, it's just the leading up to it. Like, I get it. It sucks. But Santiago Ponzinibbio against Michelle Pereira is going to be a really fun fight just because Michelle Pereira is that. But they haven't earned that. I'm sorry.
And I am looking forward to seeing Holly Holm fight this weekend, but I don't feel like she's a main card.
No, that's completely fair. I think for her last performances and what you've seen it's kind of like you got into Tony Ferguson at his downfall at the apex.
The very end. No,
at the end of the the
3
downfall.
Back-to-back fights of Tony Ferguson winning. Yes.
You saw 3 No.
Yes. I started watching Tony right before him and Khabib didn't fight for that final time.
Yeah. So the first fight you saw in the first podcast was the Justin Gaethje fight.
No, I saw Tony before that. Maybe it was old fights, but no, I'd watched so many Tony fights that I was like, oh, I'm a Tony fan.
Yeah, you saw the older fights with Pettis.
The first fight I watched live was not...
For Tony, no. It was Justin Gaethje.
It was not.
Yes, it was.
Andy, it wasn't.
Yeah, because the other one, the one before that...
I saw Tony win.
No.
Yes, I've seen Tony win live.
You have not seen Tony win live.
I have.
You might be confusing him with fucking Korean Zombie.
No, how are you telling me I have not seen Tony win live?
Look, we can go over all the fights that we have been able to get. Look.
Andy, we'll do
the last win was Anthony Pettis, and that was the night that I ran from the cops during the Khabib fight. That was the last win. 2019.
We were together.
Oh no, Donald Cerrone.
Thank you.
You're right.
Hello?
You're right. I'm playing my boy. You saw Donald Cerrone, and then after that, it was Justin Gaethje.
Okay. Well,
so you did see Tony win.
Yeah.
So you saw him win his 12th fight.
And Cowboy at that time
was bad motherfucker.
Bad.
Yes.
Bad the bone.
He was knocking out motherfuckers.
He was top 3.
Yeah. He
was top 3.
That's when he was at his his next resurgence.
I saw Cowboy at his peak too.
So
I did see Tony and Cowboy both at their peak.
That is good. That is fucking good. Because now
that's the level of fan I am, was like Tony and Cowboy at their peak. And
now they are not. But
yes.
Yeah. So I was wrong. My wife was right.
I did see Diego fight in the UFC still.
You saw Diego win.
By
disqualification against Michelle Pereira.
That was a crazy joke, but...
So, I mean, you still saw him win.
Back to Holly Holm.
So, yeah, I think it's just the rhetoric going into the week where it's like, you've been dogging this fight since it's been announced. Like, you're giving it no chance, and it might fucking hit. Because this is MMA, and Holly Holm has knocked out bitches. Ketlan Viera is going in there to fuck somebody up.
I think I might be on that level, though, too, where I'm like, Tony's on his way down. Cowboy went down. Mm-hmm. Holly Holm. I've not really seen this impressive Holly Holm that I know she's been and capable of.
So you're thinking...
the trajectory shows me Holly Holm's probably on her way
So
down.
for this one, you think Holly is going to take the L by Ketlan Viera?
To be totally fair, I don't know as much about Ketlan to have an opinion about it. She still fucked think up Miesha Holly, Tate. If she fucked up Miesha Tate, I think she has a good chance fighting Holly. I know Holly is a still phenomenal fighter. I don't see her dominating a fight anytime soon, though.
Yeah, and she's also...
And if Ketlan took down and destroyed Miesha Tate, then I don't see her destroying or being destroyed by Holly Holm.
Yeah. That's more than fair. I don't know. I'm
It's kind of one of those fights.
Yeah, it's
so
just like
that's why it's not why I'm kind of I could see why people are kind of bummed about it being if we had tickets and we went and saw this and Holly Holm was the main event, I would be stoked. Mm-hmm. Just buying it on a pay-per-view. Is it a pay-per-view?
No, it's
not
free.
Even a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not pay for a pay-per-view.
Right. And that's where it's different. It's a free, that's what I'm saying. It's a free fucking fight.
Yeah.
Let's dial it down.
Last weekend, I felt the same way as I did last weekend. No. And those are great fighters, and I know a bit more about both of them, but it's still not the best, card and everything, too, so.
But yeah, that is it for this week's show. If I can say so, I do think it's our best episode yet. We wouldn't be here without you. We would love to talk shit with you, hear your thoughts, etc. Babe, tell the people how they can talk to us.
Okay, so if you're on Twitter, hit us up at NoNameMMA1, Instagram at no.name.mma show, or send us a snail mail email at nonameMMAshow@gmail.com.
And thank you for joining us this week. It was great. Have a great rest of your week. It was dandy. From me, Motivated Andy.
It was great. No nutshot, Nina.
Talk at you guys next week. Invest in your mental health. And as always, fuck you, John Jones. And Tony Kelly, because you're a racist piece of shit.
Yeah.
And Andrea Lee, because you're racist. You're racist too.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.